Hi everyone, it's Rachel from the Shades of Orange. Today I want to do a really fun book tag, and that is the If You Like This tag, which was started by Jen Campbell, who is fantastic. I'll link her original video down below. What this is all about is the idea of mentioning one popular book and then offering a recommendation saying if you like that book, you'll probably also like this book. I've wanted to do this tag since it first came out. It's just a really fun way to get recommendations. So let's jump in. Now I should start by saying that I'm not going to do a recommendation for people who liked Gone Girl, because honestly, calling something the next Gone Girl is basically the marketing kiss of death for books. And I've just never found another book that has been exactly like that one. However, I am going to go on a limb and recommend books if you like things like Dark Places and her other book, Sharp Objects. I did find a book that very much has a feel of Gillian Flynn. I think it's more like those two books as opposed to Gone Girl, but if you're like me and waiting very impatiently for her to write another full-length novel, this is a great one to tide you over. And that, of course, is In the Woods by Tana French. Both of these books, or all three of them rather, are well-written mysteries. There's some very dark content in both of them. It's a little bit gritty. It has wonderful, strong female characters. And there's a lot of reasons that I can't say without being spoilery, but trust me, if you like what Gillian Flynn does with her books, you're really going to like this one. I really found that this to be one of the strongest contenders to Gillian Flynn out there, and I absolutely love In the Woods. It's all about a detective who, as a child, was in the woods and two other kids went missing, and then he ended up being found. However, years later in that same woods, another girl has gone missing, and now he's a detective, so he's trying to figure out what happened to her and possibly what happened to those other two kids. And I just love this book. It was my favorite book of 2015, and I can't recommend it enough. Next, I want to attempt another pairing, and that is Harry Potter. I'm holding up Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, but really this is a recommendation for anyone who loves the Harry Potter series and has just been looking for another book to fill the void. And I think, like a lot of other people, I find other fantasy books, other middle grade, don't necessarily create that same nostalgic feeling. But I'm really excited that I finally found another book that has that same Harry Potter feel, and there's a reason for that. The book I want to recommend is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, which is basically a parody or satire in some ways of the Harry Potter universe. It's meant to be fan fiction of a story called Simon Snow, which is really similar to what Harry Potter was like. It really plays on the same tropes in Harry Potter's, the idea of the chosen one and going to a magical school, and just basically takes all the Harry Potter characters and flips them on their head. It definitely makes a little bit of fun of the Harry Potter universe and is kind of irreverent to it, so you have to be willing to make fun of Harry Potter a little bit. But absolutely loving this one. Full disclosure, I'm not finished it yet when I'm filming this, but it really fills that nostalgic Harry Potter void, and I'm so happy that there's another book out there that kind of has that same feeling to it. Alright, for my next pairing, I want to recommend a book for people who loved You by Kepness. This book got mega popular all over BookTube in the last year, about a stalker who becomes obsessed with this woman. It's told in a second voice perspective, and it's just so good. You guys know how much I love that one. And I was really excited to just recently read a book that I really feel like kind of gives it a run for its money and fills that niche. And the book I want to recommend is Creep by Jennifer Hiller. It's not the exact same book, but it has a very similar feel to it. The book is about a professor who has just gotten engaged to a wonderful man, and because of that is breaking off her affair that she had with one of her students. From there, basically, he doesn't take the breakup well. She is also a sex addict and has been struggling with this addiction for years. And it's just a very saucy, sexy story, but at the same time, it gets incredibly creepy. My heart was just pounding reading that, and I haven't had that experience with a thriller since You. So completely addictive. I just burned the last half of that book. I had to know what happened next. Definitely anyone who kind of likes those creepy thrillers with just a little bit of a kind of sexy vibe to it. It's absolutely worth it. I gave it like 4.5 stars on Goodreads and recommend it to everyone who likes psychological suspense. It's so good and I highly recommend it. Alright, to switch genres, I also want to recommend a book for The 19th Wife by David Ebershoff. This is a historical fiction told over two perspectives. The first is a historical piece from a character named Eliza, who was a real woman, but it's a fictionalized account of her experiences as the 19th wife of a LDS leader, and basically tells her story as she grew up and then decided to leave the church. So it deals all with polygamy and a lot of those interesting crazy stuff that happens around it. And while this is fiction, I found that particularly the historical perspective really read like a memoir. It was really intended to seem like a nonfiction piece filled with fake documents, letters, diary entries, etc. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a different pairing, and I'm actually going to pair that with a nonfiction book that I just also recently read, and that is The Witness Wore Red by Rebecca Musser. And this is a nonfiction memoir all about the wife of a former LDS leader who basically testified and helped bring Warren to justice for his crimes. Both the fiction book and the memoir I'm going to recommend, both of them honestly deal with a lot of difficult subject matter, but if you're like me and find the subject of polygamy and the LDS Church just really fascinating, both go into a lot of detail and just really give detailed accounts of what happened. I really feel like I have a much better understanding of what happened and is happening in those situations because of reading those two books. So highly recommend. If you love The 19th Wife, this is definitely a memoir to check out. Alright, and last pairing I want to do is if you like Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, I'm going to recommend that you read Mr. Penumba's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. Now, they're not the exact same kind of geeky story, but I feel like the kind of geeky people who would enjoy Ready Player One would probably also enjoy Mr. Penumba's. And of course, this book is all over BookTube. You know, it's filled with video games and 80s references. And Mr. Penumba doesn't deal with the same geeky subject matter, but instead what it deals with is things like typography and Google and just old books. It's the idea of a young man who loses his job and ends up working in this weird bookstore, and he kind of realizes that something else is going on, a bit of a secret society type thing, and it's just a fun adventure. I find both books are just, if you want a fun ride, if you just want to go and kind of burn through a story really quick, go for an adventure. You know, it's kind of both, I don't know, aren't necessarily the greatest literary book ever written, but I just think they're both really fun, really addictive, and personally I prefer Ready Player One, but I think both really stand up and kind of have that same geeky, fun adventure feel, so I would definitely recommend those two books together. So those are the 5 book pairings that I put together. However, I know you might actually disagree with me, and feel free to let me know down below. If you agree, disagree, maybe you have a better pairing or a different 2 books that you think just go really well together. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll talk to you more there. Thanks, goodbye.